Ever notice the friend who, by 28, is just ahead? They don't post about it. They don't have a course. They're not the guy who quit corporate to chase passive income on Twitter. They're the one who skipped the bachelorette in Cabo and now somehow owns a small place. The surface looks normal. Same job. Same outfit on rotation. The numbers underneath tell a different story. A Roth IRA on autopilot since 23. A high-yield savings account quietly absorbing every paycheck. An index fund position from 2022 that nobody talked them out of. Research out of the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, published in 2024, suggests these people aren't smarter than you. They're not better paid than you. Their brains just run on a different time horizon than the people still living paycheck to paycheck. Give me 15 minutes. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly what they're doing and why almost no one your age figures it out before 30. Let's start with why being broke at 25 is the default, not the exception. Because the real answer isn't willpower or salary. It's that your brain wasn't built for the world you live in now. Inside your skull is a reward circuit running on 100,000-year-old hardware. Neuroscientists call it the mesolimbic system. It fires every time a notification pings, every time a payment clears, every time a buy now button lights up. A 2019 Cornell paper measured how this circuit responds to micro rewards. The tap-sized dopamine hits your phone, delivers 100 times a day. The activation was almost indistinguishable from what they saw with food, sex, and addictive substances. Your brain doesn't separate progress from a TikTok ping. To the circuit, they're the same fuel, and the world is engineered to keep that circuit firing. Buy now, pay later apps, tap to order food, 24-hour markets. The economy is built to convert next year's security into tonight's small relief. Princeton researchers named what happens next the hedonic treadmill. Each upgrade, the nicer apartment, the newer phone, the regular brunches, quietly raises the floor for what counts as normal. You earn more, you spend more, and you still feel like you're not making it. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's working exactly as designed, just not for the life you actually want. But there's a small group, maybe 1 in 10 of your peers, who, somewhere between 23 and 27, just stop playing along. They cancel subscriptions. They turn off targeted ads. They move from a 1-bedroom to a studio, not because they have to, but because they don't want the bigger place anymore. From the outside, it looks like they've given up on having nice things. Inside their heads, something completely different is happening. A 2021 longitudinal paper from the London School of Economics followed a cohort of young professionals who began aggressively saving within 2 years of their first paycheck. fMRI scans showed them lifestyle upgrades, luxury watches, designer bags, corner apartments. Their reward centers still activated, just measurably less than the control group. The researchers had a phrase for it. Their reward thresholds had quietly moved. What used to feel like a treat now felt like a tax. The math of pleasure had inverted. And once inverted, it stayed inverted. That's not willpower. That's a different operating system. And it's the foundation of everything that comes next. So what flips the switch? What turns a normal 20-something into a quiet saver? Almost always, it's a single event. Not a viral video. Not a self-help book. A specific moment in their actual life that breaks the spell. For some, it's watching a parent open a credit card statement at the kitchen table and quietly leave the room, realizing the person they thought had it figured out doesn't. For others, it's a 1 a.m. Google search after a fight about money. They type average retirement savings by age 30, and the number, around $20,000, lands like a punch. For some, it's standing at a relative's funeral and hearing adult cousins argue about a checking account the deceased never had enough in. These moments don't move most people. The next morning, the gym membership still charges, the DoorDash still gets ordered, Life resumes. But for a small group, something rewires overnight. The math feels different, and it never unfeels. Researchers studying this group isolated one trait they all share. A 2022 paper in the Journal of Behavioral Finance named it temporal discounting flexibility. In plain English, most 20-somethings experience future you as a stranger. The 65-year-old version of you doesn't feel like a real person you owe anything to. So when there's a choice between a treat tonight and security later, the treat wins. Every time. A small subset experience future you as themselves. The 65-year-old feels close, reachable. The trade-off stops being theoretical and starts being emotional. Watch what happens to the numbers when that shift kicks in. $200 invested once at age 22. By 65, that single deposit grows to roughly $12,000. The same $200 invested 10 years later at 32 grows to $4,600. Same money, same investment, same person, just 10 years apart, almost 3 times the result. That's not effort. That's compounding doing its quiet work. Here's where most 20-somethings quit. Quietly building wealth costs you 4 real things. And the first one breaks most people. First, your social identity. Every friend group has a script for who you are. The spontaneous one, the foodie, the one who's always down. When you stop spending, you stop fitting that script. A 2018 University of Michigan study scanned what happens neurologically when adults abandon a long-held self-concept. The activation pattern matched what researchers see during literal grief, the kind people feel after losing a parent. To your nervous system, identity loss and death feel like the same thing. Second, the social tax. You'll be the one ordering tap water at brunch. You'll skip the bachelorette. You'll explain, for the 4th time, why you're not going to Coachella. Yale researchers have a clinical name for what comes next: social comparison anxiety. It's the low hum of paranoia that shows up when your choices visibly diverge from your peer group. Most people pay that tax for about 4 months before they fold. Third, paradox anxiety. You'll save more than your friends and somehow feel poorer than they are. Financial psychologists have documented this for 2 decades. When you stop spending on lifestyle, you lose the visible feedback of being on a trajectory. Your account balance says you're winning. Your nervous system can't see your account balance. It only sees that you can't afford what your friends are doing this weekend. Fourth, real missing out. Not Instagram-flavored FOMO. Actual lost experiences. The Bali trip you skipped. The wedding you couldn't justify the flight for. The years of late-night barbecues your friends got and you didn't, because you were running a spreadsheet on a Friday night. These aren't propaganda costs. They're real. Anyone telling you saving aggressively in your 20s is painless is selling you something. You'd think the payoff is obvious. Less stress, more options, more security. The cliché ending. A 2023 Oxford paper backs that up. 20-somethings who prioritize financial autonomy reported significantly higher life satisfaction by 30. Less burnout, better sleep. But a Stanford 5-year longitudinal study found something nobody predicted. The early savers did have lower financial stress, but they also reported a different kind of anxiety. One researchers labeled existential ambiguity. Here's what that means. When you've quietly solved the money problem by 28, you arrive a full decade early to a question most people don't confront until their 40s. Now what? Inside the loop, earning, spending, climbing, posting, the scoreboard tells you what to want. Step off that game, and the scoreboard disappears. You have to figure out what winning means without the algorithm whispering it in your ear. That question is brutal when nobody prepared you for it. Some quiet savers, at 29, run into something uncomfortable. The grind wasn't just a way to make money. It was also a way to avoid asking what they wanted out of life. The upgrades and the new phone every September weren't only fun. They were decoration over a question they didn't yet know how to answer. But here's what these quiet savers eventually discover. And this is where the channel name comes in. The quiet game has its own kind of freedom. Not the freedom of buying anything you want. The freedom of not having to want what everyone else wants. University of Rochester research on self-determination theory shows this shift produces intrinsic motivation, doing things because they matter to you, not because they look good to other people. That correlates with sustained well-being in a way chasing external rewards never does. And underneath all of it, the math keeps stacking. $300 a month into a basic S&P 500 index fund, starting at age 22. By 30, that's roughly $43,000. By 40, over $170,000. By 65, over $2 million. The same person starting at 32 needs to invest $750 a month to land in the same place. 2.5 times the monthly cost. Not because the older starter is worse with money, because they don't have the one thing the 22-year-old had: time. Compound interest doesn't care about your salary, your degree, or your ambition. It rewards how early you start. And the only window in your life when you have more time than anyone else in the room is the one you're sitting in right now. Most 35-year-olds wish someone had screamed this at them when they were 22. Consider this video the scream. Here's the part that should give you hope. The people who quietly get rich before 30 aren't a different species. Most of them built this, deliberately. A 2023 University of Pennsylvania paper on adult neuroplasticity showed that with sustained effort over 12 to 18 months, adults can actually shift what their reward systems respond to. The brain isn't fixed, it's trainable. The new sneakers, the upgraded phone, the boozy weekend brunch, those start producing less of a reward signal. The things that barely registered before, a growing investment balance, paying rent without flinching, an emergency fund, start producing more. You can rewire what feels good, but it's not one decision you make once. It's 100 small decisions, every day, for about a year. After that, it stops feeling like effort. It starts feeling like who you are. Here's what nobody tells you about quietly getting rich. It's not the easy path. It's the harder one. The loud path. Climbing, posting, spending, upgrading. Has a built-in scoreboard. Constant feedback. You always know if you're doing it right because someone is liking, commenting, or congratulating you in real time. The quiet path has none of that. No likes for the index fund deposit. No congratulations for the month you stuck to your budget. No fanfare for the credit card you finally killed. You're playing a game whose scoreboard is invisible to everyone but your own future self. And she won't show up for 10 years. Most 20-somethings can't tolerate that. They quit around month 4 because the silence feels like nothing's happening. But that's exactly when compound interest is doing its quietest, most valuable work. The game looks the most boring at the precise moment it's working the most. Recognizing that trap is probably the most adult skill you can develop before 25. So if you've made it this far, trying to figure out the quiet game or already in it and wondering whether you're crazy, here's what I want you to take with you. You're not behind, you're early. The friends spending money they don't have aren't winning. They're paying full price for a feeling. And in 10 years, when their lifestyle plateaus and yours quietly accelerates, they'll wonder what you figured out that they didn't. Compounding doesn't care about your IQ, your salary, or your social skills. It cares about one thing: how early you start. Every single year in your 20s is worth 4 to 5 years of catching up in your 30s. You can't outsmart that math. You can only respect it, or ignore it. And when this gets lonely, and it will get lonely on the Saturday night your friends are out and you're meal prepping, that loneliness isn't a signal you made the wrong choice. It's a signal you made it early. Most people don't make this choice until they're 40, after a decade of regret. You're getting there at 25. You don't have to wait until regret forces your hand. You can choose right now to play the slower, quieter, harder game. The one where there's no applause for years, and then one Tuesday morning at 29 you wake up, check your accounts, and quietly realize you're set. Your discomfort isn't fear, it's wisdom arriving early. If this hits something in you, if you're one of the people quietly trying to figure the math out before 30, there's another video on this channel about the specific habits that compound the fastest in the first 5 years after your first paycheck. Either way, thank you for being here, for taking 15 minutes to think about future you when literally no one in your life is asking you to. That's rarer than you think. You're early, you're paying attention. And the version of you 10 years from now is going to be so glad you started watching channels like this one.